players, Nick, from one side, and then to something that you're very familiar with, coaching staff.
Yeah.
Thoughts around that?
Yeah, so thanks for bringing me in on this one. Yeah, my view is that you should wait until the end of the year before you award a Coach of the Year award, and it was awarded straight after the Women's World Cup to John Mitchell, who's been a colleague of mine in SuperSport, and he's a guy who's a fantastic coach and has done a great job. But if you consider how dominant England women's rugby has been, it would have been a massive surprise for them not to have won that playing at home. I think they've only lost 4 out of 85 games. So to take over that job, you've got a team that should win the competition, and you'll get fired if they don't. So they're that good. So instead of waiting to see, let's have a look at everything. I also don't think that you should mix up the sevens, the women's, and the men's. I think you should have 3 separate ones.
Have them separate categories.
Exactly. And because how do you measure a World Cup win by a sevens coach compared to winning a championship or winning a Six Nations or beating the British and Irish Lions? It's difficult. So I just think that Rassie has. I remember in 2023. They didn't award it to Jacques Nienaber. We won the World Cup. Yeah. They awarded it to Farrell because they'd won the Six Nations. And I felt that was wrong. I think the team that wins the World Cup, your whole process has been towards that World Cup. I guarantee you, if Ireland had won it, or if France had won it, their coach would have won Coach of the Year.
And there was a rugby championship victory as well for the Springboks the same year, leading into the World Cup. Vic, I saw you nodding your head as well. Quite a deep...
Yeah, I agree 100%. Last year we had the sevens coach of Argentina winning the Coach of the Year. I just don't think you can compare the 3 games. I think there should be a Women's Player of the Year upcoming and coach. Sevens, same thing. And the men's game the same. I don't think you can compare it. And I think, how long has Rassie been dominating World Rugby, and he hasn't won this trophy? It's crazy. He's changing the game. Everyone is following what he's doing, the way he's running the media, everything around the game, how he builds up games. It's sad that he hasn't won it like 4 times already.
He won it in 2019.
Did he win it 2019?
Peter Steph du Toit won it. The captain was Sia, and Rassie won it. But 2019 is a long time ago, and he's been dominant for a while. And I think it's still there's a personal issue here with Rassie because of that video that went out in the British Lions series. I think they sort of feel they don't want to give an award to someone who's actually put them in the spotlight.
No concept of letting bygones be bygones here, Jono.
No, but again, just on the point that we're harboring on is, one of the values of World Rugby is to inclusivity. Changing the game, and I think we all will categorically agree that Rassie has done that. So on top of winning, on top of creating hope for a country actually bigger than the 80 minutes on the field. So why not award him again? If someone dominates and keeps dominating, why not reward him? Yeah. Yet when the All Blacks were on top of their game, their coaches were rewarded. Year in and year off. So again, it can only come back to the point of a video that Rassie made. Which I think was still the right thing to do.
Allegedly, wasn't it? Yeah. It was allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. Make it public so that everyone knows. So when there's questions from the public, they can say, okay, cool, Sam made it because he's achieved A, B, and C, and D. But now no one really knows what the criteria is. You see it, and then,
I think we need Rassie, Eddie Jones, and Farrell to make a video for the audience about all these red cards and yellow cards are blowing up the game. I think we need a video for that.
Those are the 3 most influential coaches in world rugby at the moment. Vic, we need them to have a say. But Nick, slightly more political, if you will, because there's something that you guys said that really triggered something in my thought process. This concept of having categories, particularly with what Jono said now with World Rugby trying to be inclusive, and there's so much attention that we're trying to pay to the women's game, to sevens, and bring that more attention than what it's getting. Could splitting these things into categories then create more of an attentive thing on those specific players?
Of course it will. Of course it will. I think that if you're driving women's sport, then there might have been someone in that women's World Cup who didn't go into that World Cup with their very best. Swiss, for example. Swiss, I'll use him as
Canada.
an example. And Canada.
Yeah.
Canada, they actually had to crowdfund to get themselves there, and they made the final. But Swiss to get into the top 10 when we've never ever been in the top 10. You could start arguing that, maybe they would have a go with John Mitchell, who was, was pretty comfortable with the team that he had, quite frankly. So you'd be able to have more talk around the women's game, more talk around the sevens game, and more talk around the men's game if you didn't make it a sort of coach of any rugby, either the women's sevens or the men's game.
If you go to tennis or golf, they're not going to say, listen, this was the best player of the year. There's a women's best player of the year and there's a men's best player of the year. So I don't know why RB is doing it.